Hello and welcome to video 3 in our 10-part video series on binge drinking unmasked. Today's video is entitled, it's rather a clunky title, but why can you control all the other areas of your life, family, career, health, but I can't control this binge drinking? Hello, as always, I'm Luke Michael Howard, clinical hypnotist and binge drinking specialist and creator of the Binge Drinking Rapid Reboot program, which is a program I run for successful professional women aged between 27 and 57 who binge drink and who want to quit. That's the most important thing. So video number 1, we talked about what the definition of a binge drinker was, and it may have surprised some of you. Episode number 2, or video number 2, is the why and how that you binge drink, and what are the reasons behind it and how you go about it. So you're successful. It's probably why you're here. These videos are targeted to a very specific type of woman, you. And I've targeted specific type of women like you because I noticed when I would get women that would be binge drinkers, it would always be a personality, all right, very driven, typically lawyers, dentists, doctors, realtors, or solo entrepreneurs or solopreneurs, I think. Very successful women who essentially to the outside world had all their ducks in alignment. If you talk to their colleagues or their friends, they'd be like, Sarah, yeah, she's got it all together. Really successful family, successful in her career, good health, looks amazing. But Sarah has this dirty little secret called binge drinking that typically she won't do with a bunch of friends that a lot of teenagers might do, but she'll do them when she gets home, when there's no one around, and she wants to demarcate her day between the work day and the rest period of coming home. So why are you able to deal with all these other areas of your life? Great success, you've probably gone to school, you've probably got a degree, a master's degree, like a lot of my clients, doctorates, all right? Probably a doctor, a realtor, something very, very successful out there, probably a lawyer or something of that field. And I don't mean to offend you, but sometimes I will, and that's my purpose here. My purpose here is not to tell you everything's going to be okay and it's going to work out all by itself, because it ain't, all right? And maybe other people have been afraid to tell you that, but I'm not, okay? My job is to help you to see through the matrix, to see through the fog. And if you think you have a problem, and I imagine that's why you're here, is to help you get out of that problem. It's all very good being positive, right? Positives are wonderful, but if you've got a garden and that garden is filled with weeds, and those weeds are frigging eating up all your bloody beautiful flowers out there, you can chant, you can meditate. There are no weeds, You can do these beautiful breathing patterns like box breathing. You can tap certain areas, you can listen to bilingual beats. But if you don't pull out those friggin' bloody weeds in your garden, they're going to eat all your beautiful flowers. You have to do something. So why have you been able to control everything except for this? You're driven. You're really successful, right? You've got a version of yourself that you keep in your brain that you like to project out there to people. People think you've got it all together. Well, here's why. It's almost like you're on a boat, right? It's a wooden boat. And you're a human being, right? And as you live your life, you accumulate traumas. Now, disclaimer, when I say trauma, please don't think it has to be the end of the world, although it could be for you. A trauma could be anything as small as, when I was a little girl, my best friend didn't want to play with me when I came back to school if I had a day off, and she wouldn't talk to me for the whole day. That's a trauma for a 5 or 6 year old. All right, you might be thinking, well, I weren't binge drinking when I'm 5 or 6. Don't worry, these pieces all come together a little bit later on, all right? Okay, so have patience with it. A trauma could be something bigger as you get older. Somebody dies, a loved one dies, it's a trauma. There's a breakup of a relationship, it's a trauma. You lose your job, it's a trauma. You're bullied at school or at work, or you're attacked in the street verbally, physically. somebody's talking trash and trolling you on social media, and it's getting an audience out there. These are all forms of traumas, and not all traumas are designed the same, but I'll use that term because that's what it is. It's like a scar on your psyche, if you will, big and small. And again, what's big to a 5-year-old for a trauma might not be big for a grown-ass woman between 27 and 57. But to that little girl you carry inside, it's pretty big. And if it ain't healed, and it ain't healed, it's a pretty big thing that will stay in the background, almost like a virus that you get from a computer. You might still be able to use your computer and craft emails and beautiful Word documents, but you just notice your computer's a little bit slower, a little bit more buggy. It's not quite as bright as it used to be, but it's slowly been getting slower. It's slowly been getting less resourceful. It's slowly being downgraded. It wasn't just a fall off a cliff that you noticed. It took time. So there's a trauma, and you probably don't know what the trauma was, at least consciously. Your unconscious, your subconscious mind knows everything. So you could go to years of therapy and talk about it, and which actually just reinstalls the trauma because you talk about it over and over again, and you might have some insight about it, but they don't traditionally give you the tools to release it or to heal it once and for all. So why have you been able to control all these other areas except for this area? Well, here's the thing. It's like the boat, going back to the boat analogy, right? This boat, wooden boat, as you live your life, it starts to get holes in it, and you start to plug up those holes, right? You become more successful. You go to school, you get your degree, your master's, your PhD, your professorship. You run your own business. You make $50,000 a year, 100, $500,000, $1 million a year. Right? You have 1 client, 10 clients, 20 clients, 100 clients. You're being referred. You have a family, beautiful family, wonderful family. All these things, it's requiring your energy, it's requiring your time. But there's these traumas, these mind viruses like your computer that are on in the background that haven't been dealt with, right? And they probably haven't been dealt with because you didn't even know that they were there or that they were that big. It's almost like you're surfing an internet site you shouldn't go to, and you don't realize that that Trojan is in the background slowing your computer. You might not know why your computer is slow, your head-top computer, or is not as resourceful or is not as bright as it used to be, but you just notice that you're not quite as sharp, quite as fast, quite as happy, quite as optimistic, quite as hopeful about life. So this boat, trauma's coming up, and you're plugging little pieces of paper in all these holes in your boat because you don't want your boat to go down. You don't want to drown, don't want to die, metaphorically, of course, all right? But then there's this one hole that you don't even know that's there. And it's letting the water in your boat, and your boat isn't going down fast like the Titanic. It's going down slowly descending until you look back 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years, and you realize, holy shit, excuse my French, although I'm English, I'm drowning. I need to do something. How do you deal with it? You drink. All right, why do you drink? It helps to calm you, helps to de-stress you, helps to make you feel not so overwhelmed of all these emotions, all these things you have to do, being the A personality. You can't fail. You've got to be in control. Control's so important, right? You've got to control your feelings. You've got to control your emotions. By the way, you're not really in control of anything. Neither am I, but we'll get into that in a later video, okay? So you have all this need, I've got to control. You're not actually controlling any of these other areas in your life. You think you are. And I don't doubt that you're having success in those areas and have had success in those areas, because that's why you're watching these videos. They're designed for you specifically, all right? But the reason why you haven't dealt with this one is because you haven't dealt with the stress. You haven't dealt with the overwhelm or the trauma. Again, remember, it doesn't have to be the end of the world, but it could be something big, as I detailed earlier. It could be something small that was undealt with, that gets linked in your mind-body semantic system that may seem completely unrelated to binge drinking. And that seed or that landmine may have been planted many, many years before you ever had your first drinking episode. Like a landmine that was placed in the desert years and years and years ago, maybe decades ago, and no one ever stepped on it, so no one ever triggered it. And then one day someone triggered yours, or something triggered yours. And now this binge drinking strategy, unconsciously, don't suggest you were sitting around saying, hey, got all these problems in my life, can't let my mask fall of being the A personality, being really successful. I'm going to have this strategy now of binge drinking because it makes me forget all of my things, or it not seemingly being so overwhelming. I'm not suggesting that you did that consciously or cognitively, or that you were even aware of it potentially until now. But you see, if you just got rid of the binge drinking, but you didn't deal with the stress, you didn't deal with the overwhelm, you didn't deal with the trauma that holds all that together, your unconscious, your subconscious, your monkey mind is going to find another way, probably unresourceful way, another addicting way of dealing with that problem, a maladaptive way of dealing with that problem, because it's a 5-year-old, your unconscious mind. It's very, very intelligent, but it gets its feelings hurt very, very quickly. So as long as there's traumas in your body, in your mind, in your somatic mind-body system that you haven't healed, and that might have been because you didn't even know that they were there, because it was it may have been insignificant, it may have happened a long, long time ago. But if they're not healed, you can have all the counselling in the world and talk about it. You could do all the funky breathing patterns in the world, like box breathing or hard breathing that you want. And it will distract you and it will make you feel a little bit better, but it won't make it go away. You can tell your friends about it. You can journal. And this will all give you a little bit of respite, a little bit of relief. You can either go to rehab, you can either go to AA meetings and talk about your problems. Never really got AA meetings. It's a bit like being a petty criminal and then going to a state penitentiary, a jail with rapists, murderers, and some of the worst criminals imaginable, and you get your PhD in being a criminal. Kind of like AA. Not that they're criminals, however, these are typically people that are going through ordeals and haven't come out of the other end and still associate themselves with being an alcoholic. I think you can drink, I think you can overdrink, but I don't think you have to be an alcoholic or even have that label, and I know that you can stop it. However, if we don't deal with healing your trauma inside your mind-body system once and for all, even if you did stop binge drinking, you'd do another illicit drug, another obsessive behavior that would be destructive to your mind-body somatic system, or you would binge drink in more excess. You might go a week or two, maybe even a month, maybe even 6 months, and then the proverbial shit hits the fan and you go back to the old program because you've done it so many times, and in a weird way it's comforting. So we need to find a new way to help for you to once and for all to heal those traumas, not by reliving them over and over again, but by healing them, whether you're aware of them consciously or not. And once you find that new way and wire it up in your brain, in your somatic system of mind body, it then becomes quite simple and quite rapid to stop binge drinking. And it can even get to a point where you can enjoy a drink once or twice a week, really enjoy it, really like it, no guilt, no shame, but after 1 or 2 glasses you're done. You had your tipple, you enjoyed it, you didn't do it to replace a feeling or because you were feeling overwhelmed, you just did it because you enjoyed it, and then you stopped. You can get to that point, but sometimes the pendulum needs to go the other way for a little bit. But as long as there's malware, as long as there's mind trojans, as long as there's mind viruses inside of you that have gone unhealed, all right, and a lot of people that come to me have gone to counselling, has gone to psychotherapy, have gone to rehab, have gone to AA, all this, spent so much money, so much time, yet they've still got their problem. And I'm going to talk about later on why, actually in the next video, in why counselling, psychotherapy, rehab, AA has a success rate of about 7%. That means 93% of the time it fails, and by fails it means within a month to 3, people will go back to their way of drinking, if not even more than they were doing it before. And I don't know about you, but if I was going to risk my life on something, if I was going to go to Vegas and I was going to go onto the roulette table and I was going to bet everything on red or black, okay, I'd want odds better than 7% that I was going to come out healed on the other side. So I'm going to get into that in tomorrow's video, in why therapy, traditional therapy, psychology, counseling, rehab, AA meetings, perhaps even, oh my God, he's going to say even hypnosis you might have done before, and it might not have worked for you, and it's not your fault. And I'm going to tell you tomorrow why none of those things worked. So I've been Luke Michael Howard, creator of the Binge Drinking Rapid Reboot, and I'll be in your inbox tomorrow, same time, same place, same channel. See you then. Always believe.